Senate, gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to sign the Appropriation Repeal and Amendment Act 2020 into law today. I thank the distinguished Senate President, the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, and all the distinguished and honorable leaders and members of the National Assembly for the prompt review and passage of the amendments to the 2020 Appropriation Act. You will recall that I signed the 2020 Appropriation Act into law on Tuesday, 17th December 2019. However, it became necessary to revise the Appropriation Act 2020 in response to recent developments, in particular the COVID-19 pandemic. Crude oil prices in the world market declined sharply from a high of 72.2 United States dollars per barrel in January 2020 to below 20 United States dollars per barrel in April 2020, and have since remained around 40 United States dollars per barrel. Nigeria's crude oil production quota has been reduced as part of the efforts of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries to strengthen the oil market. Global trade has generally been disrupted as almost all economies were locked down for protracted periods in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. All these developments are plunging the global economy into recession, and Nigeria has not escaped the impact of this. In effect, the assumptions underlying the 2020 Appropriation Act are no longer sustainable. It is therefore imperative to adjust our expected revenues, considering the widespread disruptions in domestic and international economic activities due to COVID-19 pandemic and the containment measures taken in response thereto. Understandably too, we needed to reallocate resources in the Appropriation Repeal and Amendment Act 2020 to ensure effective implementation of required health and emergency measures, as well as to mitigate the negative socio-economic effects of 2020-19 pandemic. The 2020 amendment budget, which I have just signed into law today, underscores our administration's firm commitment to effectively contain the spread of COVID-19 and protect the lives and livelihood of our people. With these budget amendments, as well as our recently launched 2.3 trillion naira stimulus program, we are well positioned to safeguard the economy. Considering recent budget implementation challenges, I have directed that efforts be made to assure effective implementation of the Appropriation Repeal and Amendment Act 2020 in order to realize its laudable objectives. All ministers are to ensure that their ministries, departments, and agencies intensify capital project delivery efforts and fully cooperate with the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to achieve the laudable objectives of the budget. We have nevertheless made some progress in the implementation of the Appropriation Act 2020. As at 31st May 2020, the sum of 253.33 billion naira have been released for the implementation of capital projects. The Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget, and National Planning is in the process of effecting budgetary releases that will ensure that all ministries, departments, and agencies receive at least 50% of their amended capital budget by the end of this month. The Appropriation Repeal and Amendment Act 2020 that I have just signed into law provides for aggregate expenditures of 10.81 trillion naira, which is an increase of 216 billion naira over the level of expenditure initially proposed in 2020 Appropriation Act. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning will provide further details of the 2020 amended budget. I wish to acknowledge the efforts of the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, particularly the Budget Office of the Federation, and everyone who collaborated and worked conscientiously to provide the Appropriation Repeal and Amendment Act 2020 that I have just signed today.